Hi, friends. I have heard innumerable definitions of success, but the best one which comes to my mind: how many lives are better off just because you lived? And I'm extremely excited to introduce our today's guest, Nipa Bhuptani, who's actually dedicated her life for a cause that is extremely close to her heart. She's committed herself to support communities for families and for training based on evidence based treatment for children with autism and other developmental disabilities. She is the managing director at Applied and Behavioral Training Institute at UAE and also the founder of Autism Support Network at UAE. She's a speaker at various forums and she's been invited to the United Nations. So, Nipa, a very, very warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Ajai Kumar. It's a pleasure and an honor to be speaking to you, and I'm really looking forward to this dialogue.
Thank you once again, Nipa. And so am I actually. And I'm pretty confident so is everybody who's going to be listening to these dialogue for today, because the topic which we are going to be discussing today would be touching everybody's heart in some fashion or the other. So, but before we get started on the main topic, out of just being inquisitive, how did you get started on this journey of yours?
Mostly people expect me to say that there is a personal connection, but there isn't.
Hmm.
It was just I moved to the UAE from India, and I was working as an early childhood educator. This was the time when there was much less awareness in the society. So I saw a lot of children in my class when I was a teacher
Hmm.
that showed up with various different needs, and I was not trained for it, but I was just very drawn to them. And over the years, it just became more and more evident. And everything I tried on my own to do, I was successful with. I was just very, very fortunate to have that success. And so that made me want more of it. And so over time, I then, of course, pursued that further and got studies and experience and certifications in the field. And it almost grew into a passion over time. It was literally like I was in the right place at the right time, and this was my calling.
Very nice, very nice. And for a layman like me and some of us who might be listening over here, how big is this quantum of this problem? Is that like some numbers, high
So,
level?
if you're looking at numbers, worldwide data is showing us that there is at least 10 to 15% of the world's population that will have some sort of disability. It could be
Wow.
permanent or temporary. So people, sometimes you have an accident and you lose some sort of your faculties for some time. That's a temporary
Right,
disability,
right,
whereas some people may have it permanent. So it is a very large population that we're talking about, and
right.
you know, the- we really, really need to provide better services and support so that we don't lose out on that number. And our
Absolutely.
community would be very bland without that 10% if we don't have them included.
Got you. And I'll be very honest with you. Somebody would have asked me offhand numbers on this. I could have never guessed 10 to 15% is humongous. I would have
It,
possibly guessed somewhere in like 0.1% or some numbers like that, very, very low decimal.
yeah.
But thank you for bringing that to our notice. You touched a little bit about that in terms of the numbers being big. But if you put the entire ecosystem, because not only the people or the children who are going through that, but the entire ecosystem, their family, their relatives, their friends, the entire community, there's such a big, big ecosystem around it. So, how do you help this entire ecosystem?
And, in order for a person with any sort of a disability to be successful and to be included in life, we need that entire ecosystem, right? You need the parents, the family, the neighbors, the school, the
Right.
policy, the government, the leadership. Literally, it ripples out to the entire world, right? And so
Absolutely.
everybody needs to learn about it. It's the first thing, but also needs to be supported to support this person. And we a lot of times we are only expecting people to understand and support, but we're not really supporting them to support. So that's another layer that we need to get
Right.
under. And like you just said, you thought it's like 0.1%. Maybe because you have not experienced disability first person anywhere around you. And if you haven't experienced something, how can you feel compassion for it?
Right. I
And so
agree.
what we are trying to, what my message continuously is that we, of course, there's training and we can, there's a lot of awareness when we talk about things and people know what they're supposed to do. But experiential, experiences where people are in contact with, we really want to put a real community is a community where everybody's there,
Correct.
and that's how we learn, right? If you just go backwards, say about 50 years ago, I mean, I can
Hmm.
say I was a young child then, and disability wasn't a bad word, or it wasn't something, it was, if I grew up with my cousins or my friends or in the neighborhood, there were children who had additional needs, who had some sort of developmental delay or a physical disability. And they were just in we just took them in stride, right? They couldn't
Right.
do a few things, so you help them out, and you don't laugh at them, you don't talk about them. Your parents didn't they were never shunned out. It was part of your neighborhood, it was part of your community.
Correct.
And then what I see is then awareness came. People became aware, and the moment they became more aware, but not as experienced, they started fearing it in some way, and so they distanced themselves. It was also kind of like politically correctness, or not to hurt their feelings. But in order not to hurt somebody's feelings, you ended up isolating them, right?
Right.
So so I think it would be it is important to answer your question, to important to support all the layers of the ecosystem in order to make a true inclusive community. And that support comes with, for example, at the layer of the immediate family, of
Hmm.
helping them understand, accept, and day-to-day strategies move forward with how to empower that child. Educators again need to be supported on how to, and what strategies, what works, what doesn't work. And then moving out to the community, the
Right.
community needs to be empowered, or be taught, be told that it's okay to not know. It's not shameful to not know, but that dialogue is uncomfortable, right? So we have that discomfort of the dialogue needs to come out in the open. This discomfort is new. It wasn't there a few years ago, but it's there now. And we really need to talk about it. It's okay to say, and I truly believe that most people in the world are compassionate, but they
Right.
just don't know how to be. And so they move back, they step back, so we just have to, what my mission is, to talk more about it to people who are feeling uncomfortable, and say it's okay to feel uncomfortable, it's okay to not know the terms and to not be politically incorrect, it's okay. But but still, if you have the heart, and if you say what you need to say, and you're willing to do what needs to be done, that's what we need.
Gotcha. So, few points which caught my attention. Number one, I definitely 100% agree with you on the thought process that the true nature of every soul is actually being compassionate, peace, love, and everything comes naturally to us. Second thing which caught my attention was that we need to definitely be very open about having these dialogues. So, the awareness of that there are tools, there are ways to actually address this in a much better way. So, those are available. So, having that awareness and having that dialogue which is there so that people appreciate it a little better, that plays a very important role. The third thing which also was very interesting which I learned was that you talked about how things have changed over time. So what used to be 30 years back, 50 years back, and what it is currently, the timings and dynamisms have changed, the mindset of individuals have changed all around. So it has to be looked at, it's an ever evolving kind of a way to look at how do you handle this. Very
Absolutely.
interesting, very interesting. Let's switch a little bit of the gears. I initially started off by giving saying a definition of success, which is there, right? Saying that what success means to me. What does success mean to you in your definition?
Uh, you bring up success, then I must say your book Beyond Success is something to reckon with, like to really read and learn from. But I'm not going to be able to tell you what you say about success in your book. So I'm going to just tell you what I think success
No,
is.
this is question is
Uh,
for you only. We need to hear from you on your way of interpreting
no,
success.
I
See?
mean, having done so much work on success, and having been a successful, like a business leader, and having now shifted gears into giving back to the community, I think that is so credible. So
Thank you.
that is something certainly gives confidence to your readers to read about success from you and learn from you. But when you ask me what success is, I'm a very kind of tactile, pragmatic person where I just need to, and I have very less patience. So I
Mhm.
cannot say that success is something that will come to me in the future, or like this is my aim, and when I get there, that'll be success. For me is every day. Every day, if I'm working with a family, and if I am able to show them that their child who was not able to, you know, follow any instructions, and today was able to sit at a table and work with his therapist for 2 minutes, that is success for me. Success comes in very small doses, because in our work we celebrate every small win. Everything we get is success, right? Because knowing the population that we work with,
Right.
if we define, if we try to align success with what a usual measure of success is, as in earning money, or getting full marks, or being able to win a competition of debate, it's different, it's relative, right? The
Right.
success here is what, and for every human, I think success is very relative, very, very individual. um,
Absolutely.
and nobody's right or wrong, but finally, as you said in your definition of success, when it's time for us to go, or when we are gone, how many lives have we touched, right?
Right.
How
Right.
many people will remember us, or talk about us, or think about us with a smile on their face? That is important for sure in the long term, but I won't be around to see that. So right now I'm just measuring what I can see every day.
Fantastic, actually. When you were speaking, there were so many things which actually struck the right chord with me. And uh, taking a step back in our management and the corporate world, right? When you talk about, we keep discussing about saying that success is not a journey in terms. It's a journey, actually, not a destination. Where you say, "I reached there, I am successful, great," but it's the whole process of going through that journey which is there. So that's one thing which you highlighted. Second, you highlighted it's not about looking at one lofty big goal which is there. How do you look at on a daily small chunks of victories which are there, and how do you celebrate them and rejoice? And last but not the least, you connected the dots back with the way I defined success, saying that how many lives are better off just because you lived, right? So fantastic. This is coming back to your own thing which is there. So when you say you working with the family, you found that small incremental progress which is such a big thing in a kid, and the family is rejoicing to see that. Are there any special ways you celebrate those small victories with the family or with your team? How do you do that?
Actually, well, like to bring it to a very granular level, we work. For example, we do toilet training for young children. They're learning how to use the toilet, right? And with a child who has developmental delays, that is a huge. It's not something that happens overnight. It not even something that may happen in a week's time. It takes months, right?
Right.
So so we have a PP party, or a poo poo party,
Oh, really?
when when that happens, right? Because like everybody is celebrating, we bring in a cake or something, and there's like a big message goes home to the parents. We may have a sticker or a wall poster, and
Right.
I know, and so just to this is just to highlight like a small, what you might think is a small win, but how we celebrate that. And initially, when I first started working here in Abu Dhabi, I was heading an autism department at a special needs center. And when I joined them, this is the model we implement. It's an evidence-based model. It's called the competent learner model from California. And part of that model, very very structured part of that model, is to celebrate success of the students and
Mhm.
of the teachers, right? So whoever, because the student is successful, that obviously means the teacher is
Teacher
successful.
success.
And so
Absolutely.
when we started implementing, the director of the institute in the first 3 or 4 days came in and said, "What is going on in your department?" And I was like, "Why?" And he says, "I just keep hearing these very loud celebrations every 10 minutes. And are you guys only partying or are you actually doing any work?" And I was like, "No, we look for very small goals. So if the child says high five, we celebrate that, you know." And so
True.
and I think that also helps us keep burnout at bay. Because if we have more joy, and as people who lead teams that work in such circumstances, that I mean, the emotional baggage for the teams is very high when they're working with,
Absolutely.
and it's
Absolutely.
and so celebrations of this kind really help in keeping burnout away. So that's our added bonus at the back of the celebrations.
No, no, makes perfect sense. On a personal note, let you know, I've also been on my own personal spiritual journey, which is there, right? And in spirituality, it keeps discussing about the essence of having always a big smile on your face, essence of spreading the smile with others. And to do that, for every small thing, you need to find ways to be happy about.
Yes.
And it kind of ties back to what you were just mentioning about how you look at the the pee party or the poo poo party, and how you kind of, so it's a big boost which is there for the kid, for the
Yes.
family ecosystem, for the teachers, everybody in that whole ecosystem involved together. So fantastic, good to hear that. Very nice, very nice. uh, Now, I'm thinking at your own personal level as well, right? You'll always have scenarios of clash of priorities. And I could tell you that in corporate world, I've seen this very closely. And invariably, whenever there is a clash between personal and professional priorities, the professional world always will supersede the personal thing. And it's kind of by given nature. How does it apply to you? So, in your part of the world, you are also day in, day out helping families, helping kids, and everything. But how does it work out with your own personal life? Do you set some boundaries? Some colors and dimension on that are going to be really helpful for us.
Sure. So, you said that you have been spiritually on a journey spiritually, and you talked about happiness,
Right.
right? So, to bring that and what you've asked me together is, firstly, like, happiness uh, is also a journey, right? It's not a destination, and
Absolutely.
it's not, you cannot tie it with anything that is external.
Right.
It is going to come from within, and it only comes, I think, joy. I call it more joy than happiness. Somehow I relate more to joy, because that's internal, right? And joy is very much related to being value congruent. When you, whatever do you do in your day, whether it is work or whether it is family, whatever, every action that you're taking in the day, or whatever you're spending time on in your awake hours, if it is aligned with what you care about, really, then you're going in the direction of your values, and that is going to be joyful. It may not be joyful in the moment. So, for example, like if I care about my health and I'm going to refuse eating a piece of cake, it's not joyful in the moment, but I still feel joy in the fact that I am living, I'm doing something towards my value, right?
Correct.
So,
Correct. Correct.
and I think that's, and what you were talking earlier with the management is um, about conflicting values, right? Like you
Right.
have conflicting values. So some things that you really care about at work and you want to give more time and you want to do your best, but at the same
Right.
time your family needs your time, and there's that stretch and pull. And the one thing I think is that the mistake the management gurus make is the definition of success, firstly,
Right.
right? So
Right.
they're talking about, like, if you achieve your all your KPIs for this project, and all your competitors are left behind and blah blah blah,
Right.
then you're successful, right? But was that project aligned to what you care about?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was
Right.
that project about what you care about? Did it do, like, if you really care about doing better for other humans, how was that project connected to that? And if it was, then I think no matter how much time you give to it, you feel your value
Fulfilled.
comes. And
Valid.
then, yeah, and then that would be joyful. But you've done it only because then you will get the management award or the next promotion. That's where the pull and push happens, right?
Gotcha.
Yes, distributing time between work and home is always a challenge, remains a challenge. But for me, I can say very, very, I'm very fortunate with the fact that when my family has seen my passion,
Right.
they are like, they're like, just go do this, right? Because and luckily, well, everyone in my family is passionate about something that they care about, so much so that they want to put in that much time. So we appreciate each other's passionate work and the time that goes into it. And I
Gotcha.
don't think I would be the same person, or would be giving back the quality of time that I gave to my family if I didn't have this. I might be giving a lot of quantity, but not the quality. Yeah.
Gotcha.
But yes. And then boundaries, yes, of course, one has to set boundaries. And I have not been very good at setting time boundaries, as in I'm so passionate, sometimes I may not be able to sleep. And so I wake up and work in the middle of the night because
Okay.
there is something going on. So I just want to get that done or put it on paper somewhere. So yeah, and it is hard, but I just feel the joy I get out of doing it kind of cancels out the the
Right.
the, the time put into it, or the risk sometimes with health that happens with that. But yeah, not advised. Uh, that's not advice that should be taken.
So, what you talked about, one I heard from you was having that support system within your beat family or maybe in the ecosystem which you live in, who are so appreciative of your passion. So, that goes a long way for finding this balance which is there. Second thing which I heard about was that you look at joy where things are aligned uh, in terms of where your passion lies in. So, you will not even care about things and you'll do that which is there. So, which was also very uh, kind of encouraging to know about, saying that when it is there. You also talked about time boundaries, that while you have not been very, at times you have kind of slipped over boundaries, but for all the right reasons, you wanted to give back more. And for that, in that journey, you are ready to do that, which is there.
Yeah.
So nice, nice.
I think if I can add one more thing here
Please,
is
please.
the most important, and I just assumed that is understood, but I want to spell it out, is the most important is reviewing your values at a very regular interval, right? And then and comparing your actions with it. Like, I have a worksheet where kind of I identify my values, and values are within multiple domains, right? So values at work, values at home, values social, whatever. So
Right,
and then with that, the actions that I'm taking in that domain. So, if I value health, but I am really not, I am going out and eating junk food every day, then it's not value congruent. And sometimes it happens, right? We as humans kind of go for that immediate gratification versus the long term one. And so we
right,
become values incongruent. So just reviewing that often enough to see, okay, and noticing where am I not aligned, Where is the misalignment? Because if we let it go for too long, that it's just derails, and then bringing it back is harder. And then if you do that and have a practice, some sort of practice of stopping and breathing, being aware of your present moment, um, in the middle of the day, right? Because if you have your values clarity, then when you're doing something that is not congruent, you will feel it in your body and mind. Your body actually rejects something that you are very clear that is not what you want, right? Whether it's a decision that you're making, or a communication conversation that you're having, or anything that you are actually consuming. Even
Right.
consuming screen for too long, you
Right.
if you are connected with your values and your present moment, you will get that signal. But if one of them is missing, then the slippery slope.
Right. So, on a lighter note, just to let you know, Nipa, you sounded like a corporate executive when you use the phrase of value congruence. And we have all been guilty of coining those phrases in the corporate world, come up with those new phrases. But over here, you actually have a very deeper meaning behind it. So, I love the way you said that. How do you review your values on a daily basis so that that alignment is always there? Second thing, you talked about a concept called living in now. And believe it or not, I actually have a chapter dedicated in my book about it. How do you live in your present moment, which is there, right? And what is the power behind that to do that? The third thing which you talked about was saying that how do you ensure your personal fulfillment and maybe professional ambitions they can coexist simultaneously, and it is possible to pursue them both, which is there as long as that passion is behind it and the value congruence and the alignment is there, which you talked about. So, which is
Yeah,
very interesting. We keep talking about work-life balance, but the new concept used to talk about work-life integration. We talk about things that you make them coexist together, but incorporate your personal life into your work in a fulfilling way. Now,
yes.
you touch base a little bit onto this, but let me ask you in a different way. If you were to look back at your life, let's say look back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, has there been any challenge which might have made you to rethink the way you're defining today, whatever you're articulating right now? Is there any learning from there which you like to share with us, which made you Nipa of today and having that point of view?
Certainly, yeah. And yes, there has been a turning point that has happened.
Hmm.
Um, so I started on this journey, educating myself and wanting to change lives. Right? That was the whole idea. Um, and being in UAE, this I'm saying at least 15 years ago, it was a very professionally a very lonely place because there weren't many people doing the work that I'm doing now.
Correct, correct.
So when you're by yourself and in a community where the need is so huge and there is very little capacity, very very few people, so the moment people hear that this is something you're doing, you get a lot of requests for help and support, right? Now I started off, when you're young, you think you will conquer the world, right? So I started off thinking I will solve these problems, right? I am powerful. I am dedicated. I am passionate. I have the tools and the education. I will make sure that nobody has this struggle anymore. Soon enough to realize that I am none of those things, and what I have is very limited, and I have to accept that, right? So that was where there was a lot of friction within me, where I felt like I wasn't good enough. I'm not doing a good enough job. What did I think? Who do I think I am? And I am on this completely wrong path, and a lot of burnout because I can see families needing my help, and I can see I have the skills, but there isn't enough time and resource to support all of these people. And
Hmm.
so that burnout of not being enough, self-judgment, guilt, doubt, all of that together kind of really burnt me out and crashed. And I gave up. I stopped working.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes.
And how
I
long?
stopped for almost about 8 to 10 months. I sort of moved back and I said, "This is not for me," because I'm not. And I was fortunate that I have good mentors, and I spoke to them, and they said, they've been ahead of my journey for many years. So they said this is the normal trajectory. This is what happened. And
Right.
so this now, but of course, you're going to need help to get out of it. And that is when I was introduced to something called acceptance and commitment treatment therapy, which is based in evidence-based practices of
Right.
the human mind and mindfulness and spirituality. So it comes together, and all my values-based work comes from that. So I had to first do a lot of work with a therapist for myself to help me. I mean, I knew what my values were, and what I was doing was not congruent. I was giving up, moving away with that burnout. So I had to learn how to fill my cup, not burn out, and do small things that will bring back joy and that will connect to my values. And so over time, of course, then it came. I was able to come back with the force, and this is where I'm here now. And so I truly believe, of course, the evidence-based work that we do, the technical work that we do is
Right.
extremely important, but it cannot be sustainable without this human compassion work that we do, the values work that we do, right? It needs to come, they both need to come together.
Very nice. Actually, you bring up such an interesting perspective over here. See, in our earnestness, when we want to give back to the society and we're trying to help others, there is a component when you're trying to help people with their mental well being, emotional well being. Our own emotional and mental well being also gets impacted in such a big way, and the role of self care becomes so important in those scenarios, right? So in terms of how do you maintain balance, you had good mentors at that time who actually guided you the right way, saying that, hey, don't drop the ball, this is the trajectory, everybody has to go through that. But keeping this in mind, if you were to give one message saying that if somebody has to go through this journey, one self-care practice which you would suggest others to follow and prioritize to stay grounded with practicality and ensure that they, when they go through this journey, they go
Mhm.
through this process, they can sail through it smoothly. Anything comes to your mind?
One thing is going to be hard, so I'm going to give you a few things.
Sure, sure.
I,
Please, please, please.
I think, like I've already talked about clarifying and aligning values. I think that keeps, and then actions. What are you doing every day that is in alignment? So that all those things are important, but staying present, right? So I think like just a breathing practice, an awareness practice of some, and every human has a very different way of staying aware and
Right.
not aware of what's outside, what aware of what's inside, right?
Inside.
So and I think our bodies are great signals. We don't, I mean, although we're talking about mental health, but our bodies signal that before we actually think about it as a mental health problem. Our bodies are telling us that. So just being aware of how we're breathing. If I am very stressed, my breath is going to change. The speed at which I speak is going to change. The speed at which I walk or move is going to change. So if we have a self-awareness of our body, that would be the first step. Just be aware of how you are, when you're angry, when you're upset, when you're stressed, when you're calm, how your body changes. And if we just keep an awareness of that, like you said, the smile, in a lot of Buddhist tradition, they say when you're meditating, keep a smile on your face,
Right.
because it really, and there is research now telling us that if the moment a person has a smile on their face, endorphins are released. You are
Absolutely.
actually, joy will come.
Joy will come automatically. Absolutely.
So I think doing things like that, and secondly, building and supportive environment around you. So talking to people, being open about labeling what is going on around within you, and noticing it and saying that this is how I'm feeling right now, this is what it is, and can you help me with it? Seeking that support, build that little network around you that will help you. I think that those will be the people that will pull you out.
Very nice. So, like I mentioned to you earlier, you sounded like a corporate guru earlier. when you're talking right now, I could see a spiritual guru also talking, because a lot of things which you talked right now is something which I've been pursuing in my own personal spiritual journey, where you talk about the power, what lies within an individual. So being self-aware of that and aligning those values and being value congruent, you talked about, and always smile, and that kind of helps and then you build your support system and you help people through that. Fantastic. I think from an advice point of view for aspiring individuals to find that personal and professional success, whatever you just said will be like, could be a nice doctrine for people to think through and follow through in their thing. Any closing comment you may like to have?
Um, I think everyone has the power or the possibility to succeed in what they choose to pursue,
Right.
if they stay true to their values.
Very nice. Very nice.
And and then again, it's not a one-way street. It's dynamic. It will change. The journey is going to have lots of ups and downs. We just have to, and then that's human, right? It's messy and it's human, and it's not a straight line. So anybody who's listening should also know that it's not like, okay, I'll stick to my values, keep them on my board every morning, and do it. Won't be. There'll be you know so many googlies thrown at you. So yeah.
Right, right. No, this is very, very helpful. Very, very, I hope all of us who will be listening to this will take some nuggets of suggestions from you, which you just shared, and it'll be very helpful for everyone. Before I let you go, see, I've personally been very, very impressed with the kind of work you've been doing. I know you're spreading it globally outside UAE going forward. If people would like to know a little bit more about the work you do and everything which you're contributing back to society, would you direct them to the right place? Where should they go across to learn a little bit more about you and your work and your organization's doing?
Sure. We have a website called the abtinstitute.org.
abtinstitute.org. Okay.
Yeah, and that website is, it's always a work in progress. So right now it's still being built further, but yeah, that has the basic information of what we do and who we
Right.
are, and we are in the UAE, and also my LinkedIn page. If anyone wants to connect, I'll be happy to share anything that they need to, or even just chat.
Right, right. And do you also have a lot of volunteers who want to contribute to the cause? Do you also have a set
No,
team like that? Is
we have interns. Usually
that-
we yeah, so we have interns. We take college graduate interns, graduate level interns, because it's kind of sensitive work, and so with the children or the families, because we see them so often, having volunteers that change every day, it does not work for us. But an intern who makes a commitment, that's what we work with. But when we do work in the community, when we do
Right.
large community events, then we invite volunteering agencies to bring in their volunteers. So
Volunteers as well. Very nice. Very nice. So, folks who have been listening, this has been a pleasure talking to Nipa. She mentioned about if you want to learn more about her work, please do visit her and her team at abtinstitute.org. And Generation Z, if you guys are listening, I know we keep talking about being more focused on what you can give back to the world. So this could be one apt way of contributing back to the society. So feel free to check Nipa and her team, the kind of work they do on their website. And Nipa, once again, thank you. And I really thoroughly enjoyed the conversations. Apart from your work, we talked about your corporate prowess and the spiritual prowess you were bringing to the conversation. It was very, 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 very insightful. So thank you once again,
thank
and
you,
all the
Ajay.
very best to all your work.
Thank you so much, and it has been a pleasure. It was really an interesting talk. Yeah, and I'm glad that we share so many thoughts and ideas. So thank you so much for that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank you.
once again. And viewers who are watching, we'll continue our conversation as an ongoing series. Thank you for listening to this, and stay healthy, stay safe. Take care.